Welcome to my channel where we talk about everything I've learned as a young dad, and in today's video we're talking about working effectively from home with kids. Working from home might seem like a dream, but in reality it can be quite chaotic. I've been working from home since the first lockdown, and in that time I went from having one toddler to having a toddler and a newborn. By the end of this video you'll learn my top tips on how to work effectively at home whilst not allowing your kids to become a distraction. I was really excited to be working from home. With the new baby on the way, it seemed like the perfect opportunity. I could spend more time with my wife, helping her throughout the last stages of pregnancy, getting her ready for the birth. I could spend more time with my son, giving him a bit more attention. And to be honest, all of those benefits worked out pretty well. I was able to be flexible with my work and attend to my wife if she needed anything. I could take my son out to the park and play with him pretty much any time during the day, as long as I wasn't too busy. And yeah, there was that kind of occasional screaming on the other side of the door where I'm working, and those odd intrusions into team meetings at work. But all in all, I don't think that is anything in comparison to having to commute to work and commute back and all of that kind of stuff. But all of that changed when I returned from my paternity leave. It was no longer the odd screaming, it was a mixture of melodies between a toddler and a newborn. It's not like my wife could just come in and take my son if he ever tried to intrude into a meeting because she had a whole nother baby to look after. With two kids, it just became too much to handle. I would see my productivity just plummeting, my task lists were growing, and by the end of the week I was just like super stressed out. And that stress wasn't just from work, it was also because I wasn't able to give enough time to my family, that my family were being deprived. And with my wife just taking care of the kids and me having to catch up on all this work that I'm not able to get done, the type of attention that my family were getting were not really the good type from me. So one night after me and my wife put the kids to bed, we sat down, we said, look, we really have to solve this problem. And that's where we came up with a solution. So these are my top 5 tips on working from home effectively as a dad. Number 1, the mother and father system. So this is a system where you have to figure out how you can be effective at work with family whilst not just benefiting yourself but benefiting your spouse too and benefiting your kids too. That's why it's a system, that's why it's a mother-father system. It's not just about looking, okay, if I implement this in my day, therefore I'll be able to get my work done better, because you're not thinking about all the other possibilities of what could go wrong around the day. So making sure you have like an integrated system between the two can really help. The first thing you want to figure out in that system is finding out what are the responsibilities you and your wife take, the mother and the father take. So for me, for example, I'm a morning person, and so is my son. He wakes up quite early, so I would take the responsibility of staying with him during the mornings. And then that means during the mornings, my wife can rest a bit. The newborn baby is obviously sleeping kind of more further into the morning, so they can both sleep together, whilst me and my son kind of get along, play, eat, whatever we need to do, right? And because my wife is breastfeeding, she can't always just go out and take our son to the park or anything like that. So what I would do then is, after the morning, I would obviously start work, but I would try and slot in a break from work around like when I would take a lunch break to actually take my son out to the park. And what that allows, again, is for my wife to have another break where she can just focus on the newborn instead of having both of them. It also allows me to get out of the house after having sat down at my desk, and it also means that my son can kind of get some special attention, given that when the newborn's here he's obviously feeling a bit jealous, a bit, you know, feeling like he's not getting as much attention as he used to. So it kind of benefits everyone. And then in the evening, after kind of work is done and the kids are ready to go to sleep, my son's a bit of a mama's boy when it comes to sleep time. So that's when we like tag in each other, where she would take the son, I would take the daughter. Daughter's obviously newborn, few months old. She's not doing much, she can just sit down. And that's actually when I would try and see if there's anything I could do to help around the house. And usually it's the dishes. And top tip, do the dishes. The reason why I say that is because that's actually a time when I can listen to something like a podcast or watch a YouTube video or something in my own space and just have like my own kind of relaxing time while I'm just cleaning some dishes and getting housework done. So number 2 is the workstation. Part of being productive at work is to make sure that you have a good workstation, right? Making sure that where you are working is going to be efficient and the atmosphere around it and the things that are included in the workstation really work. So for me personally, I like to make sure that I am splitting away in my house what is my work vibe and what is my chilled out vibe. I bought a portable table from Amazon. It didn't really cost too much. And it means that like it folds up, so if there's any reason that I need to maybe put things away, maybe I'm not working from home anymore at some point, it can be used in a different way, it can be stored away. It also has wheels, so it's quite easy to move around. So if we ever needed to do the decor of the house again, or if I wanted to change where my workstation is and move it into another room, it's quite easy to do that. I also have a 32-inch TV as my monitor. And I know that seems quite big, and at first I thought it was quite big, but honestly it works quite well, because what I can do is just connect my laptop to it, leave my laptop closed, because I don't need 2 screens, given that the 32-inch basically acts like 2 screens. Because it's so big, I can split the windows of the different kind of windows I'm using, different programs, different applications across the 32 inches, and they actually display quite nicely, even if they're in like half of the window or they're up in 1/4 of the screen. I also bought this wireless keyboard and mouse, and honestly it was such a steal, such a bargain, because I've kind of looked around before I bought it, and you're not really finding a set of a keyboard and a mouse that are wireless for £20. So this was really good. It was on Amazon, and yes, it's smaller than a normal keyboard, but I didn't think I needed a full-size keyboard, because a full-size keyboard kind of has the extra attachments of the number pad and everything, and nobody really uses that. So this is kind of the same size as a keyboard that would be on your laptop, and given it's wireless is really good, because when I'm done with work I can remove the keyboard and the mouse from my desk and put it somewhere safe. And that means that my son can't come in, grab the keyboard and mouse and try and throw it around. A few other tips I would say to keep things on your desk is a bottle of water, some healthy snacks to nibble on during the day, and also keep a copy of your Musaf or your Quran. So when you're procrastinating and you're feeling a bit lazy, you want to take a quick break from work, instead of just scrolling on your phone, you can pick up a page of the Quran and read a page from there, and that's a bit more productive. You get a lot more reward for it too, and it kind of keeps your focus better. And the last thing I'd mention, which is not really related to the workstation, but is to make sure that when you're praying, you don't just whip out your mat right next to your workstation. You make sure that you have a dedicated space in your house for the salah. And that will allow you to kind of create that barrier between work and prayer and focus better on your prayer. Number 3 is your schedule. So obviously with kids, it's quite hard to have like a strict schedule of this time to this time, this is happening. But if you know where your certain boundaries are in your day, like when you roughly wake up, when you roughly start work, when you roughly finish work, when you roughly have dinner, when you roughly go to sleep, these can be kind of set boundaries that you can really play with, and you can ensure that you're getting as many productive hours out of those particular boundaries. So for example, as I mentioned, I'm a morning person, so I get up around 6 o'clock. I can pray in that time, and my son usually wakes up about an hour after that. So in that hour where I can get up, I can pray, I can also squeeze in some time to read Quran and try and squeeze in some revision for the kind of Arabic language studies that I'm doing too. When my son wakes up, and if for example I still need to do some studies, I can distract him with some toys. He can play around while I'm doing some studies, and then when it's time to eat, I can cook him some breakfast, I can cook myself some breakfast, and we'll eat together. And then in that time I can also get ready for work, I can get him ready for the day too. And by the time it's kind of 9 a.m, my wife's awake, the baby's awake, and that's where me and my wife can kind of swap, and I can go and sit down at my desk to start work, and she can go ahead and take care of the children. Another kind of boundary in my day is I know my son sleeps around 2 p.m, 3 p.m. ish. So what I can do is I can set my break from work for around 1 o'clock. that's when I can get my prayer in, but then I can also take my son to the park and really tire him out so that he can have his nap and have a full nap instead of waking up halfway through. Another boundary for the day is make sure you set a clocking out time for work. It can be really easy to just sit on the laptop at home and try and get all your tasks done, because it's not like you need to leave the office to kind of rush for the next train or leave before rush hour comes or something like that. So you're thinking to yourself, yeah, I can get this done. But if you allow that to continue, it can really have an effect on your day and you'll be overworking yourself. So have a cutoff time and just close the lid on that laptop when that cutoff time comes, and continue your tasks in the next day. And then the last boundary of your day would be the time you sleep. Now, of course, with kids, sleep is a luxury, and it's not like you're always gonna have a good night's rest, but at least you know that there is a winding down time for you, and as long as you can try to keep that as consistent as possible. You know, there's going to be days where you can get it quite good and there's going to be days it's going to be bad, but at least there's another boundary there. Number 4 is having effective breaks. Like I mentioned before, a good way to kind of take a break and avoid procrastination is to read a page or two from the Quran. The other thing that I like to do is kind of get up off of my desk, have a stretch, walk around and make sure the blood is circulating around my body. And you can imagine in the office, sometimes you do that quite a lot. If you're going to go see a certain colleague on the other side of the office, your body is always kind of moving and things like that. So working from home, it's important to remember you're not actually getting that much movement in. Another thing also is I'd like to see what the wife and kids are doing. But when you do that, make sure you do inform your spouse that you're on a short break to manage expectations, or she might just leave you with the kids. And the last thing is, if kind of, you know, the kids are asleep or something, then I'll just kind of sit with the wife and have a conversation, but this conversation should be like totally unrelated to work. And that helps with getting your mind off work and allowing your brain to kind of recalibrate itself. Number 5 is baby gates. Yes, I said baby gates. Baby gates are lifesavers. Usually they're used to keep children away from like dangerous areas like the kitchen, like the stairs, etc. But in my case, it helps keep babies away from my work zone. Prior to having the baby gates, my son would just run into the room. I'm really in the zone, and then he just totally throws me off, and I have to tell my wife to get him and keep him out so I can get back to work. But now with the gates in place, he's just not able to get in, and it really helps me to kind of focus. And it also helps my wife with kind of confining him to a certain space. So there's baby gates in front of where I work, and then also in front of his room. So if you wanted to keep him in his room, we could do that. If you wanted to keep him out of the workspace, we could do that. So it just really works quite well. And these ones are kind of extra tall ones, so as he grows older, he still will find it quite difficult to get over the baby gates. After having implemented these 5 points, I can say I've been having much more productive days. And it's not just about productivity at work, it's helping me be more productive and spend more time with my family. It's also allowing my wife to have more rest and for her to be more productive herself, because I'm able to give as many hours as possible to my family, taking care of my children, and that allows for everybody to have a good day. And that's not to say things are perfect. These are not perfect systems. These are just things that have worked for me, and I still have bad days as well. So, you know, manage your expectations. It's not like this is a quick fix solution, but definitely the days are better than they were before. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about working from home with kids. Do you have any top tips? Please leave them down below in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like, subscribe and share it around. And if you want to find more content related to being a young dad and things like that, then follow me on Instagram at Shoaib Mohammed. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.